Hangers.
New pants
Hi,
in the mix.
how you been? What's going on?
Um, I've had an interesting week. I'm now a car free individual.
Oh
Uh,
no.
yeah, I've had a car kind of like a Subaru hanging on to life for the last couple of years, and I was out in the Columbia River Gorge the other day on a hike, and yeah, car transmission died, and so
Oh no. That's
car
not cheap.
free guy now.
Is that a good or bad thing?
If right now it feels good.
Yeah.
Feels like a kind of I've been waiting for like bad news to happen with it for a while, and it has fallen, and now I'm like I'm good. I like riding my bike, so I'll be riding my bike.
All right.
Yeah,
So transportation. Portland, it's easy to get around your area or
I'm a little bit just a
out.
little bit further than
So it's a bit of
you gotta want it. Like it's
Mhm.
not far.
Mhm.
Pretty much like I'm a 5 mile ride kind of like into like downtown Portland. So it's not bad. It's totally doable. You just gotta be like geared up. You gotta have the pants and the fenders and all this stuff. Uh,
Gotcha.
so it's good. I'm excited to. There's something quite nice for me about it trims the fat immediately. Like if you don't want to go to something, now I'm not going to
Yeah.
something.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I feel that. It's kind of like having kids.
right.
You get, I want to go to that thing, but I can't.
I'm responsible for
Stay
raising
home.
humans.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
can't
I
come
feel
to this
like
fun event.
I hang out with my kids. Have
Yeah.
to. I love hanging out with my kids. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. It's not a bad thing sometimes when um you're limited, maybe.
I
Limitations.
My
Hey,
personality kind of demands it actually. Like
yeah,
I need
yeah,
hard even like messages that I receive in my life. I feel like I kind of like need to run headlong into into some information like hey, you can't do that anymore. You know,
right.
now it's hard lessons, I guess, seem to be the only ones that get into my um caveman head.
Yeah. Most important things you get, I think it happens when you get older. You prioritize less BS maybe and um kind of, I mean, I don't know, impatient maybe, more impatient.
Yeah, right.
How was Skateability yesterday? Did you have it yesterday?
Wednesday night.
Wednesday.
Really
Lovely.
good, actually.
Okay.
Feeling some like new inspiration. Like it's nice to kind of feel like I did a year of classes. We have a new year of classes ahead of us, and the how would I put this? The challenge of physical maintenance, right, are some things that bear repeating, right? There are some projects that we'll need to do lifelong, right? Like maybe lifting weights or stretching or jumping rope or whatever it is. There's some things that bear repeating. And then as a person who's kind of, cosplaying as like an educator, I also have an interest in introducing people to novelty and things that they haven't touched on. So I often have to kind of move back and forth in going like, here's a class opportunity where it's in a group setting, certain things. Okay, this is a little bit inside baseball, but we do
Oh,
some
I
things
love it.
like isometric holds are a big part of skateability, and that's like choosing a challenging position, like a deep lunge, or like maybe something like a really wide stance, or even like a wall sit. Classic example of an isometric hold is like gym class. You put your butt up against the wall, you bend your knees, and you stay there as long as you can. Um, these are
Yeah.
great for a number of reasons, but one of the reasons I love doing them in a class setting is if I was like writing you an exercise routine, John, and I was like, do your isometric hold for 5 minutes. Doing that alone sucks. Like there's a very good chance that you're going to sit there for 30 seconds and you're like, fuck this, I'm going to go get my coffee or like, do something.
Yeah.
But when
Check my
you've
phone.
got, yeah, when you've got 15 other people that are all like, okay, we're going to do this So there's a little incentive
Yeah, I
not.
was sort of pushing. They're
Yeah, yeah,
inspiring
yeah.
and pushing you. Yeah,
Not to be the first one to break.
yeah, I hear you.
Um, so yeah, I feel inspired to come up with more things that really make sense in a group scenario, and
Yeah,
I'm trying to come up with more ways to have for the projects that people are working on individually, and getting people to kind of their own having some things that they can work on, whether they're like, I'm the kind of guy that goes to the gym for 2 hours, or like, hey, I've got 15 minutes while I'm waiting for, my kid at the bus stop or whatever. I
yeah,
strive to have a scalable options for people.
Brad, sick.
Did you are you guys skating this morning? Have you been able to skate this week?
Oh,
It's
I
raining.
think Raina texted, but uh, nothing exciting. I DMV. I
Oh,
applied for my
nice.
renewal. Reminds me of my age.
Oh, like a new license type?
Yeah, I got a new license. Expires next week. So, and I realize I'm not gonna be here next week. I'll be in China. So I'm like, oh my God, today's my only day.
Right.
But it's not even what I realize is like all you gotta do is like I haven't done it in a long time. All you have to do is you have to fill the application up online, then you show up with your appointment number, and then you pay the bill, and you're pretty much it, I think.
Yeah.
Unless you're like 70, I think. But I think even at 70, I don't even know if they say you have to make the driver's test or not, or I can't remember what it said. But I
Yeah, I
ain't
think
70 yet, so that's all right.
if they,
Um,
they catch you struggling, like walking up to the pull the number out, they're like, okay,
yeah,
we're gonna have to
yeah,
test you, pal.
yeah. I have like a email number, so there's no red flag on it or anything. So hopefully it's okay.
Nice.
Apparently you have to have an ID now to travel, so that's weird. I have another appointment for an ID, so I'm not quite sure what that means. Yeah, I'll find out today later.
Oh, like the real ID thing, I think it's called.
Yeah, in May you can't travel without it, no
Oh,
matter
crazy.
what. Yeah, that's what it said online at least. So yeah, today's responsible day, paying bills. You know,
Ooh,
not very. Yeah, boo. But yeah, we get to do this though, so this is kind of more uplifting, right? So
agreed.
yeah,
It looks like you were skating some or 901 plastic earlier in the
yeah,
week.
yeah, I actually have been. It's been about 3 weeks now, and actually it's been longer than that. I've been riding a harder durometer before Winterclash, and even harder than that way before Winterclash. So like now the durometer is very familiar with the 909. So I think we got it figured out.
Nice.
The plastic is like shinier. It wears a little cheaper. I think that's probably the only thing that is visibly different. I kind of like the shininess. It's a little bit, it's kind of sick.
Nice.
So you'll be able to decipher the difference for sure by just visual.
Right.
But I've been riding for 3 weeks and I have no complaints so far. So I think we got to figure it out. So it's one of those things I got to figure out before I go to China. Um, so I leave on Sunday actually. So and today I have a big meeting, manufacturing meeting later. So yeah, it's back into the grind of things going to China. We have like all the sizes 3D printed. So I basically been working closely with Kyle Sola. We've been going back and forth on I mean he's so professional with every single millimeter when it comes to um the smallest crevices on the like for example the sole plate, and he's made these crazy diagrams and like it's pretty nerdy stuff, but it's pretty impressive, and it makes total sense in the scope of things for performance and um just the small things that you don't notice that are there if you're just looking at it with the naked eye versus like when you really get in there and put hardware in and you're wondering why there's a little bit of jiggle or why is this certain frame so loud and
Oh yeah.
uh, it's so it's like I learn more and more every time I work with him daily. So it's like it's a pretty important phase right now. I go there next week and we go through everything and basically the size smalls was already approved, so I'll get to see that mold, and then the next 2 3 weeks is is I finalize all the sizes and make sure they look good, and then we go through the molding process. It's like 2 3 weeks tops, and I'm stoked because they're prioritizing us, and they're on it every day lately. It feels like, again, it feels like we just started the skate company again when we get down to these kind of details and
Right.
or daily updates on movement and progress. So yeah, that's I mean, amongst other things, I have a whole list of things that I really like to do in the next 2 years, to be honest. And a lot of the conversations we'll have will be in regards to those things. So, um, and yeah, my trips are pretty short. It's like 4 days I'll be there. So, there's a lot to pack in
Yeah, I
within
can imagine.
the dailies that we do there, which is eating a lot of food. Every meal is crazy. There's always a trip to the massage, you know, therapist
Excellent.
at least twice a day.
No
Um,
kidding.
yeah, it's pretty gnarly. The culture there is like, I mean, I don't complain about it, but it's like, um, they take care of you out there. The factories do for sure. It's the culture of it all there. I'm sure you've heard, but a lot of it is self care, and self care is eating a lot and drinking and body um, therapy
Yeah,
with
yeah.
Brad, like foot massages, or it's pretty relaxing, but it's also like um it's a pretty nonstop thing. There's like a constant go, and that's always kind of been the culture of it all when I go there. So
Fascinating.
it's interesting. The culture of Chinese manufacturing is
Yeah.
those three things like nonstop. I took my family there, my and Viola and the kids. It was pretty funny. Like we were going through the processes of the days, and she's like, massage again? Like, yeah. I mean, let's go.
Right. Yeah.
She's like, hell yeah, let's go. Yeah. So anyway, there's only so much Chinese food I could eat, though. I mean, I love it. It's great. That I mean, obviously, we go to the best food that I have the best Chinese food I've ever had. But it's like, um, by the time I'm home, I'm like, okay, let's get an In and Out or something.
Right. Yeah.
Let's get a taco. Yeah, it's a mission though, definitely, but um, but it's fun for sure.
That's cool. I had never, yeah, I hadn't heard any of that part of it. A lot of what I sort of imagine lots of
Yeah,
components, what manufacturing is and like, and what we have control over. And
yeah. It's very, the people who have the control are people like Kyle, or
mm,
like the industrial designers I talked to there, and there's definitely translations and owners of the factories, and I go to a couple of factories now, and it's a lot of it's a lot of talking in the day, and hopefully you get and hopefully you get by the time the week is up, you accomplish like 70% of the stuff that you talked about, or you were working on, and
yeah,
and sometimes, to be honest, I've been there, and it doesn't always pan out um in every single detail project that you might have had in mind. So a lot of it's following up after you come back, and a lot of it is like, you know, organization. So
yeah,
it's constant. And that's why people go to China so much, because I mean, in the manufacturing side of things, because there's like you start one thing, and then you have to go back and finish it, or there's always the beginning of the idea, then the beginning of the production, and then the end of the production. So it gets it gets like there's always like mistakes, there's always like um and I've learned that the hard way too throughout the years. but thankfully I got a good rhythm with what we've been doing, and um, yeah. So 901, that's the story of that, and I'm pretty excited um to get there for this project and take the next steps, and then after that we go into manufacturing. Uh, you know, thanks to all the pre-orders like that we got since Winterclash, like we've been able to put the deposit down pre-ordering and from the pre-order sales, and thanks to all the shop partners, like things are in motion, and I couldn't be more excited to like
Nice.
uh, get the product out because yeah, there's no way we could have done it without that launch. It's kind of crazy. It's always overwhelming because there's such a so much at stake in the small business of things, and we run things so close to the chest when it comes to um, everything from financial to relationships with the customers to um, obviously all the details like I'm talking about with production and manufacturing. So like it's very interesting, but it's very exciting, but it's also like um, such a small business in the scope of things where
Yeah,
you gotta really want to do this shit.
yeah,
You
man.
gotta really like feel the passion and understanding of the detail and the sport that you love so much, because there's so much to it that so to the normal person it's just like maybe it's not so exciting, or like I don't know if I'm making any sense there, but it's financially draining and it's emotionally draining sometimes. So like in any business, I guess that one thing that I just saw this um video um anyway, and this founder of this specific business says you really gotta when you start your business, you before you start, you gotta really know that you really want to do it, you are really passionate about it, that you're willing to risk. Um, Otherwise, it won't last. And in the toughest of times, when you feel like it's over, it ain't over. Like that's, and I take that like, you know, with everything I've done in I look back, I'm like, you know what? He's right. Like, that's like, if, there's numerous times in this business where I'm just like, whoa, like, like, what do you do at this point when there is basically no money, and you got to turn it over, or you got to make sales, or you find a way. You look back there and you're like, yo, how much, like, what is that? You gotta sell that because that's money right now. Like
Yeah.
you just you figure it out, and luckily for us, we just continue to find great partners and help, outside the market, inside the market, and um, flow like water, right? Like just transparency with events, and now we got Blading Cup. Now we're going worldwide, and there's just a lot of moving parts that enable us to continue to just hopefully elevate, which it does feel like that, and also in the tough times, just kind of figure out solutions when the times are tough, and like those times are kind of tough right now with like all the products coming out in a market space that's kind of like um it's definitely grown, but it's like, can it support so many brands? It's also maybe um it's a very nice feeling of like maybe the market is growing, right? Because why would there be so many companies? Why can there be so many available? Like there's got to be like a situational position here for rollerblading, um, and I'm in that zone. I'm in that zone personally. So I do feel like um, there's there's some growth coming back again. You know, in a positive direction for sure. So sorry, I just rambled for like 20
No,
minutes
dude,
right now. Like feels
this
like.
is I think this is what we needed really. And I've been trying to formulate a number of thoughts about precisely what you're describing, and also like what we're doing on collaborating on this project is of this podcast is rooted in some of what you're describing too, um, to my sensibility, which is that there's I think back to the dawn of them and what a to me as a consumer of skating and a fan of many things, like did a great job of being like, here's what's happening. Like, here's the story. This is where I'm at. If you guys want in, like, this is what it takes. Um,
I always look at other businesses out there, and much like yours, I think ours is pretty similar to the space of like transparency and working one on one on people and
yeah,
customer. It's difficult, well, difficult on this side of things because like customer service, I do the best I can doing it right now as I'm talking to you. Um, but yeah, I just like sorry, I just lost a train of thought. Um,
similar businesses. Going back to thinking
yeah,
about
yeah, and sorry, yeah, like the journey that brands have. Like, at what point did you just be like a $1 billion company, or a couple, like like at what point did Arc'teryx go like boom, or like, like there's money involved, right? There's definitely uh, outside leadership of some sort. I don't know. I mean, that's what I see a growth of a brand that is not just so intertwined within its own cash flow
Mhm.
or um, dependency without beyond just my bank account. You know what I mean? Like
yes,
there's definitely an opening out there, and I've gotten approached in the past, and gratefully that didn't really progress in the way it did because it might have not ended so well. Probably. I mean, who's to say? But there's definitely a situational position here as a brand, not just in rollerblading, where you start making T-shirts, and then suddenly you're Supreme, or like there's definitely a process of growth when it comes to funding, self-funding, outside, currency coming from private, funding, whatever, or not even private, right? So
right.
um, anyway, the transparency of like what we're saying is just uh we're open book, always have been. The rollout, the I like to call it the marathon, or the story just keeps getting. This is where we go. This is what keeps the longevity of things going, is because we just don't develop like 18 skates, different styles, like
Yeah,
out of the blue, or even one. Like, here's a new one. Like, what? How'd you get that?
yeah,
Like, where did that come from? Like, no, like this is how we're doing it. This is what it takes to make it. This is what I'm doing to produce it, and you're helping. Like, that's the only way
yeah,
this shit works.
yeah,
So I always thought about this too. So even if we got like, Nike comes in here and says, "Hey, here's the funding, blah blah blah." Like, even that process, there needs to be a story told within every, or any money. Sorry, not just Nike. I mean, not to put Nike in there because not to be confusing. But I just saw this Nike skate on Complex. Did you see that?
the like hockey skate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, that's kind of sick. I think I remember. I definitely remember that. That's another story to itself because I had a meeting with Nike in 1998.
no shit.
Tom
I gotta
Heiser,
make a note of that.
San Francisco. Anyway, it's a marathon, and the story, like the longevity of this company, is based on these models and our production and our skaters, and what we're capable of doing as the movement keeps hopefully pushing forward. So, and that's just what makes it. That's why we exist, and oh yeah, I always think about that. I always think about like, and I'm a fan of all these, like a lot of brands, and I follow them, and I'm like, Patagonia is so interesting. It's like there's a lot of like um, heritage brands and even Stussy next door, a couple days doors down. I have so many questions when I talk to the guys, and it's very inspiring to like see how it works. You know, uh there's so many things that to do and just there's so many things to experience that I mean this is a company um definitely is just in its infancy, you know, when it
Yep.
comes to a skate company or a brand. So anyway, um yeah, that Nike thing was crazy. Sorry, I just totally saw that skate today or yesterday, and I was like, damn, I remember we had a meeting with Nike in '98 or something. There
Yep.
was a lady in charge with the rollerblading program. That meeting was with Tom Heiser, me and Tom,
Whoa.
in San Francisco. I will, yeah, that's a good one with Tom to have a convo on because I would love to pick his brain on that meeting. Um, I just remember seeing blueprints. She had blueprints, like printed blueprints. We're at the hotel in Union Square, up the street, up from there, and I remember being like, "Damn, like we're like in the lobby or something." And busted out some blueprints of like these skates, and they were rec skates. So I was just like, my dumb ass was just like, you know, like really, you
Me, that shit's whack.
know. But it was, you know, I think they pulled the plug on that idea like at some point. And anyway, I was already like, I think I was doing USD at the time, or I was on my way to USD, or was it overseas? You know, it's just you. I felt like I was like in the forefront of like the skate culture, you know, and Nike is like this corporate. At the time, like everything corporate was so bad. Like, no, you know, like we gotta do England clothing.
Yep.
We gotta do like our own shit.
Yeah.
ITA, you know, and then and even skateboarding culture at the time. I think they had Savior shoes at the time. I can't remember, but it was not what it is now, you know, so not or near it. And could be interesting or could have been interesting. You never know. So yeah.
Like I'm really interested in this kind of nexus between products and culture, right? And like the necessary amount of products to push, like, push culture and let people identify with a thing. I mean, to another part of Nike's mission in that time was within hockey, and I was playing a lot ice hockey then, and so like Nike effectively bought Bauer at some point in that process,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they you could feel within hockey culture, which it was a different thing then than it is now, but like Nike dropped the white ice hockey skate, which like
Yeah.
the experience of as playing as like a high school
Did you
hockey.
have them? Did you
No,
have the
I didn't
okay.
get them. I was a dedicated Bauer skater, but like to, I have a
I
few
mean,
people that I still think about.
they bought Bauer though, so yeah.
Yeah, which changed anyway. I just want to point out this like there's a certain kind of skater on the ice that was like rocking white Nike skates, and he was like
Not cool.
cocky prick. Uh, yeah, I still have nightmares about this guy Gary Mitchell that I played hockey against in high school, and he was like talking shit to me the whole time. Just like chirping me, like slashing me between the legs. Anyway, he had Bauer skates. Excuse me, he had the white Nikes, uh, white the white Nike gloves. Yeah, just hot shot.
They'll always be burned in your brain.
Yeah, he's in there, man.
Yeah.
The I think there are, I think it's kind of similar actually to like different skate setups, right? That like represent a certain kind of look. That's that place where, it's easy to look at some of these things that feel superfluous. And then there's another part where it's like, yeah, how your pants fit really matters. Like,
Really like kind of maybe boggle a little bit is like we use the 908, which was a Bauer mold, Sabotage owned
oh,
from
right.
Bauer. It's like, where does that fall in the lineage of Nike? Like,
Yeah, how adjacent was it?
oh, like we're because like that 908 was in the 90s. Sabotage. Um, what year? It's a really good question. It's a really good. I mean, in the end, Nike never really moved forward, obviously. So does Nike still own Bauer? That's
No,
another.
they sold Bauer in the 2000s at some point.
Okay, so
I think
different
Bauer's actually like back kind of in the hands of
original owners.
like the hockey owned kind of like it's like back in a hockey family if I
Yeah,
understand it
yeah,
correctly. It's not just owned by like some kind of, business group that consolidates brands like many brands. And
yeah,
I was thinking when you were describing at some point you make t-shirts and then you're Supreme. Another story would be like Zoo York, right? Which was like a dyed
yeah,
in the wool, like genuine, like New York streets skateboarding brand. And I
yeah,
remember in like, mid 2000s, suddenly you're in like TJ Maxx or something, and there's like a wall of Zoo York shirts, and you're like, how the
yeah.
how did this end up here?
It
So
was
bizarre.
like Echo. It was like Echo and Zoo
Right.
York or something. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
like I was hugely influenced by the mixtape. Like
Yeah.
whole, the whole movement and just marketing New York in the way they did. Like, man, like before, like I mean, I guess it was around the same time Supreme was coming out, but I just remember New York being so sick. Harold Hunter and like
Yeah.
all those dudes. Peter was it Peter BC and I know I do realize now, like they weren't even. I mean, I always thought about it, but they were never like the best skaters. The marketing was so good. Like the
Nice.
skating level was definitely like from my point of view at least. I never felt like, but the style and the spots skating New York the way they did it definitely translates even to this day. Like you want to skate the streets, you want to look, you want to like. I always you want to emulate like that kind of rawness versus like hitting the park all the time. You can't hit the park like that. You gotta. It's the raw street shit that's just super inspiring and the creativity and just the vibe that streets getting like that's what one of the things that I took from that. There's another skate video that I used to watch back in the day called Eastern Exposure, and this video had no music. It was
Nice.
all skating, and I swear it was like an hour, and it had Donnie Barley in it, and I don't know if our viewers know who Donnie Barley is, probably not, but yeah, it's just super raw, super sick skating. Also East Coast Philly. Um, but yeah, sorry, I don't know, translating street skating and
Yeah, yeah.
influence. So
Part of that
um,
thing too with like there's a shifting, like there's some kind of continuum between something that looks inviting, like, oh, I want to do that, and something that is,
yeah, we talked
untouchable.
about it last time. Yeah,
Right, exactly.
kind of translating like skate park shit or skate park contest skating and how you only related to like maybe like a top mistrial that Michael Wisman did because it was such a street, square edge,
Yep, exactly.
like in a scope of like, yeah, we definitely a great event and it's obviously amazing skating, but like the attraction that we continue to have is in the streets
Yeah,
or um, in any case. Did you see that Darce part today? That's pretty
I,
good.
dude, holy crap. Yeah, exceptional.
Yeah. Anyway.
Uh,
Um,
yeah. So I was thinking when I watched that, like, a little bit of everything, like really nicely rounded. It gives you the positions that you like. I'm a student of the Darst martial art, and
the
yeah,
Darce straight air trademark that could be like a Jordan Jumpman.
seriously, it's really one of those things where it's like, it's kind of like inimitable and so identifiably like him.
Yeah, and I love that. I love that we have that in skating. Like I feel like something that I admire like in other sports is like when you see something like very identifiable, you're like, oh damn, that's
Yep.
that's sick. Like
Yep.
it's very identifiable, maybe.
I was thinking this also when you were describing, the kind of business example that like you've got to be prepared to kind of risk it, or know that it comes from a place of passion. And I've found over the years, like I actually actively have to make time for motivation in different things, like for skating or for physicality. And
Yeah.
I'm finding that like a Darce straight air, or I felt this with a clip Soichiro just posted, um, skating in the park, but he
Other
drops
parts.
he like drops in and he kicks one leg out in a way that very very distinctly him. But it's
Yeah.
I'm finding that those kinds of things at the moment, like that makes me want to go skate more than seeing a particular grind position, just like a particular way of moving the body that I'm finding that's what triggers me to go like, oh yeah, there's
Yeah.
something is
Yeah.
still on fire in me.
You think of something I just seen recently. I felt kind of similar. We have a bunch of new content coming out because we haven't really been posting skating as much. So I've been watching a lot of stuff that we've been holding on to for a while.
Oh, nice.
And like the Stars one is, I haven't holding on that one too long, but there's certain movements that definitely give me that. Um, can't think of it right now. Anyway, I get what you're saying though. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
um, it doesn't have to be a gnarly trick, right? It's just like how you get in and out of things, how you skate at things. Um, definitely understand. Yeah.
yeah. It's I find I can fall into a habit of like um feeling resigned to do certain things. Like, so if first couple jumps, right? You get to the park and you're like, oh, I might not want to like jump up. Yeah, whatever. You got to jump into the
Oh,
top
yeah.
spot. Just get it
Yeah.
over with.
Isn't
And
that crazy? Isn't that crazy how you like I was skating a lot this past week and then the other day I'm like, damn, I'm scared to jump on this thing. Yesterday, I was like,
yeah,
no, I was jumping on something way scarier. So
right.
it's like weird. It's how that translates, right? It's like,
Yeah.
but that's why you need to get warmed up, right?
It is quite useful. Yeah, it's something. I mean, this era of my skating often feels like I've described this a bunch recently, but I have days where I'm like, oh, I'm good at skating today, and like I'm not good at skating today.
Yeah, yeah. And I've come to accept to be okay with those bad days.
Totally.
That's when I pick up the phone really, and I'm just like, okay, who wants a clip?
Yeah.
I'm ready. It ain't gonna be me today.
Right. Exactly.
um, but I'm definitely like, I mean, I'm definitely more inspired to skate street lately, but it's just the idea of like pain, like
Yep.
definitely at my age, personally, feel like, like there's a parking lot here in front of the shop. You've probably seen it. It's kind of a scary rail. It's kind of just depends on how you feel that day, but it's like coming down the garage. It's down flat next to a ledge. It would just look really sick to topsoil it or something.
Oh
Because
yeah.
then you go on the kink and then you do the rail and the ledge is right there. I mean, someone gnarly could probably transfer the ledge, not me, but just the vibe of it going down flat and then you go through a ledge too with the rail next to it.
Yeah.
It would look cool. And been looking at it for like how long have we been here?
Yeah.
Like even today, I'm like, oh man, I mentally like, but physically,
Right.
so
Right.
different.
Yeah. I'm
And
finding
like
I
again,
have to say again.
like with your when you said earlier, like when you have people around you, like
Yep.
working together on something, it's you get more motivated probably. But
I'm finding I need to do more like being a little bit more. Sometimes it's time to push through some of that hesitation, and other times it's like uh,
yeah,
allowing myself to feel what actually feels good, and not being like
I think a name for that. There's got
there
to be
really.
some like
Yeah.
there's got to be like, someone's got to describe it as like I don't know this kind of severance,
Right.
this place in life where you're like I could choose to go up this way or that way, or you gotta be right down the middle and ready to like want to do the trick. Because sometimes you're just like, hell no, or you get
Yeah.
insecure, or sometimes you're like, nope, I got it. I'm gonna try it, no matter what. Um, but I think we're talking about the same thing.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I've used a sort of term for it in slightly different
Yeah.
contexts, but like in the gym with like, coaching people in the gym.
Yeah.
And
What is it? What do you call it?
well, particularly with like women that I've coached, there's often a feeling, often an archetype of woman that's like, I need to be in a boot camp. And if I'm not feeling like I'm killing myself, I'm not working out. Where I try to remind them that, and they often feel a resistance to that for obvious reasons too, because suffering sucks. Um, so the concept I've used is like a pleasure principle, which is like there's 1,000 ways to perform something physically, and like try to produce one that you would like actively want to do right now. Like, you know, um, I don't know, some kind of squat that feels better than like the idea of like, carrying a sandbag on your back and running around the block until you throw up. There's
Yeah.
something closer to like I would
Right.
I would not just be willing to do this right now, but I would actively want to do this right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's present in skating too, where it's not just I have to do the scary trick because I'm X or Y pedigreed skater. It's just like,
Yeah.
what if you could do something right now that you want to do? What would it be? And it doesn't have to be the existing canon of things that you've brought with you here. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's like plan B.
yeah, right, yeah,
And then hit the first one you want to do after.
yeah. That's still there, especially once you're feeling good too, and you've kind of broken through the ice. And a number of things are possible
Right.
when you're not just looking resistance like right in the face. Like that's the only path. Plan A is the
Yeah.
only way.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. Um, there were a few other things you were saying that I wanted to comment on before it left my mind. The This kind of crux idea of what we're working on together here, in that um, the prospect of community. So like I envision and can identify with myself as a younger skater and my relationship with products, where um you would feel entitled to a certain product to kind of serve you, or like feeling like, why don't I have this or that option of skates? And we're moving into a time now where the everyone who's here like really wants to be here. It's not like Nike is sitting there with a prospective skate. Like it's just us. And so I think there's this other relationship that is kind of happening. Like we feel like we have a sort of right to some of these products. And a thing that I'm interested in as a person who's also like spoken a lot online with kind of a critical lens about how skates should be or this or that. Like we have a new market with a lot of people jumping into it. And the case that I kind of want to discuss is like, if you like if you like having these many options now that might be present to us, like your responsibility is kind of like you're gonna have to buy some stuff, you know. And I'm also like, what's interesting to me about this too is that I don't view this project that we're doing together as like a promotional vehicle. I see it as like us to addressing being a skater as individuals.
Yeah.
Simultaneously, we're like, I find that line really interesting of there's an obligation to be a promotional individual for these passion projects, and also, you know, be able to be kind of a third party and look at objectively at what's happening and figure out what are, you mentioned it also, there's a part of being a business owner where you have to kind of like keep some cards close to the chest. And yeah, I'm very fascinated by this new era where we're in, where there's like there's an obligation to both do that because it's necessary in certain ways. And also, I think as this particular niche that we're in is quite intimate. Like our relationship with skating is so important to many individuals that you kind of have to do this phase shift where you're like, here's full transparency, and then here's me as promotional man, here's me as individual. Like I think that's actually the what if we're getting down to the bottom of something with the kinds of conversations we're having, I think that's the opportunity that's present.
Yeah. It's I see a lot of different situations when I mean I mean not situations as a body and person and who loves skating. Um it, there's the skater for sure. Um and but I'm such a maybe unique situation with just the the ability to um just come here and um see it every day,
Yeah.
you know. It's like um I can see it as what you're saying, right? I can see it as like what the consumer as a consumer, like what do I like about this place? I talk to myself, I tell myself that like what I visualize myself as a third person for sure all the time, and I see the person. We talk to the person, and it's also that it's a lot that um, and a lot of times I conflict with myself because what I think is definitely not what they're thinking,
Mhm.
and it's okay. It's okay because the customer um is looking for something specific, or the customer doesn't know what that is. So me and Greg and Coda, whoever's working here, we can definitely tell you you're wrong, or we can definitely tell you
Yeah.
politely, like maybe that's not better for you. Maybe that skate's way too big for you. You like that one, but that's way too big for you. There's definitely, but the customer knows what they want, and they always say, right? The customer's always right. So there's definitely um information that they're totally right on too. Like this doesn't make sense, and we take it, and we take the notes and we try to figure out why. But there's obviously a trade of information that happens here when we're talking to like a new person coming in the door, or someone's been here before, or someone who's just coming back into it. So um, it's a really like interesting space to be in for sure. So that's one hat, I guess. There's many hats to
Yeah.
have in the space of like what we do here, or talking about it. Like I can talk in that light, or I can talk about the guy who just had this interaction outside with someone who's just loved this what the skate and what it looks like, or love like like honked their horn or filmed it and was like, dude, that was crazy, or that shit was gay. Like, what are you doing? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
so there's different hats to have. I find myself in different hats every day, like for sure. So I'm more than happy to explore any of those when
Well,
it
like
comes to this. So um, I think it's a interesting space. Again, like I think it's definitely a unique situation to be here, and very grateful to have to be able to be in this space, but also because it's a skate shop atmosphere, it's a manufacturing atmosphere, it's a social media atmosphere. There's packing boxes every day. There's
yeah.
inventory. I mean, what do you want to do? Let's
Right.
talk about,
Yeah.
talk about Waiting Cup. You talk about Olympics. What is the what do we need to get off our chest, right? So
Um, that guy, you did that. I got five on it. The short interview at Winterclash, which to me is another one of those things where he was like, "Do you like old school or do you like new school?" or something, a question like that. And you very
Yeah, what
diplomatically,
do you like?
me personally, I'm with
Yeah,
you.
five
Where
out of
like,
10. Is that
I mean, I share the same kind of position where it's a um, it's a tall order to do both, right? Where you're kind of like being a person who holds some of the history of this thing that you think is valuable, and also being pliable and flexible. Like I think it's those being pliable and flexible and open-minded is required to keep your skating like relevant and available. I'm sure you have plenty of friends that like don't understand modern skating. Um, and then I admire people who can continue to like keep their mind open enough. Stu Brady to me has been a very interesting, inspiring person on this front where he's been around a number of like OG conversations, and I love watching his eyes start to glaze over where he's like, let's talk about now. Like, let's be now. Um, because I think it's a really healthy, like it's a very healthy
yeah?
impulse.
Like I love that energy because I can relate to it. And the first thing that came to my mind was Shima and Dustin. And I've talked about this in other podcasts, I think, or whatever interviews. But there was like a space we're in a van in Barcelona, and they were just like talking in um a space for skating that I just didn't understand.
Hmm.
And it was out of my what I realized now, it was just out of my it was out of my league. I can't skate like that, and a lot of it was just like we were going down this road and there's this fat rail and there's this big ass bank down it, and the trick that they wanted to do was like, whoa, like that's crazy. And we did. We jumped out of the car. They both got up there and they did it. And it was just more of, I don't know if you want to call it hammer skating. I don't know what it was just Dustin and Shima pushing themselves,
Yeah,
and I think maybe that's kind of similar to what your insight is as far as like um, conversation of like Stu, like, no, this is now, right? Like they were like, no, this is what skating is going to be now. And I was just like a powerful, it was powerful. And I think this was when Mind Game was starting, and maybe Shima's last times, him moving into Razors, I think maybe. No, I'm sure of it actually. Um, and it was just, it was definitely intimidating. I don't know if Stu's being intimidating, but it's like it was just like, oh shit, okay, I can't. I'm not part of that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I can't hang, but I'm gonna do me. But uh, but it was really cool. It was really cool. Like there's like, um, and I don't know. I'm old now, so I'm older. So I don't. I and I think the younger skaters around here at Coda or um, just like the kind of skating that I appreciate everyone's skating, not just Coda, even the older, the older people. Like I just have an appreciation for everything, like
Yeah.
if you're pushing yourselves and you're like um having you're just feeling it. Like that's like the most important thing, like when the guys are hyped on something, like you're like, okay, we accomplished what we were, like, oh, you feel like you got it, so that's kind of like a different than what we're talking about. Um but yeah, I mean Stu is definitely on a level, right? Like
Yeah.
uh, he's getting it's so powerful too, like execution. And does he play hockey? He has to.
He
Or
not
maybe,
actively, but he has played hockey in his life. Yeah.
yeah. I'm trying to think who along the lines also has that kind of like um, powerful skating, and if you want to call it new and old, I don't know. I mean, Takeshi is definitely Takeshi. Sorry, well, Takeshi's amazing, but Suichiro obviously, like, um, he's on
Yeah,
some something different every time he puts something out.
it's really true.
It's like, whoa, I think he
Yeah,
did like a grind, jump down his last part and into this crevice, and he jumped out of the crevice on top of the platform. Do you remember that one?
I know the
Man,
one.
I was like, that was so sick. Like so many bad things could have happened there.
Yeah.
But if you don't skate straight into that like little, what I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah. Keep them
Oh,
this
that
way.
like crack in the floor.
Yes.
But a lot of things like the control that I think the similar things is control, like control and the ability to move your body on skates like that is really really impressive. And obviously Alex, you know, like definition of control. So
Yeah, yeah.
anyway,
Yeah, I was coming from a place of like trying to connect this notion of we've got brand on one hand, and there's a part of brand that is, you know, a history that comes with it, right? If you're not just coming out of nowhere, like brand new
yeah,
entry, like part of what's happening here is a history that comes behind it. Additionally, we have, and then you have the responsibility to old and new, or someone coming back to it, or someone just entering it, and you're like, how much of both of these things can we, can we hold at once? What's essential here, right? Because to make a case in both, right? You're not like um,
I
you.
mean they're all essential, right? I mean, were you talking about the act of skating or the business of skating?
I
I
think
mean,
I'm like taking in my Winterclash experience. I'm thinking
yeah,
of like uh, brand importance of, or brand as a concept right now. The God, this is a great indication of how my mind works as I'm trying to collapse four things into
yeah,
one.
yeah.
So we've got Winter Clash experience, brand as a concept, the relationship between culture and product, and how, what is essential in both or what is possible in both. We discuss kind of like,
I
supreme.
mean, my first thing is my personal thing is like, I mean, just talking about Winter Clash. I don't think this is the atmosphere for representing the brand.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I don't
Yeah.
think you're gonna go to our booth and you're gonna feel like this is them skates. Like, I think when you go to our social, you see our brand, like you see the skates, you see the marketing we do within social media and the videos and the skaters that represent us. And
Mhm.
that was a great thing about videos. You got a feeling what that mind game felt like when you watched the whole video.
Sure.
I think like it's a great place for competition skating and getting a lot of community together. It's a great place to see a booth and see the people who run it and get a taste of like what's to come in the products. So
Yeah.
like as far as like brand vibe and understanding as a whole, it's very difficult to do that in 2 days in a booth, right?
Oh
Like
yeah.
I don't know that's what I'm not sure if that's what you're um oh yes. Sorry. I've been waiting for this email for like I keep looking
Nice.
at my I'm not sure that's what you're trying to say. Sorry, this is like a delivery for the 909 liners and it's gonna be Monday.
Excellent.
So it's been like 3 weeks. Like, what the?
Intuitions we're talking.
Yeah, we finally got a restock. We have a bunch of back orders, and people were like, "Where is it here? It's coming." And
Yeah,
every
yeah.
day I'm like stalling. I'm not stalling. That's a bad word. I am explaining the situation. We're waiting for the clearance,
Yeah.
and we got clearance. We had clearance on 2 days ago, and now we have delivery confirmation for Monday. So
Yeah, good news for feet
all
everywhere.
business. Yeah, good news for feet everywhere.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think you're talking about the
Yeah,
ecosystem of like the brands and Winter Clash and the connection to the skaters.
right. You have like a cultural event that,
Yeah,
is going on, and to nest, my final sort of overlay on it, right, is as a person who has not been to this particular event, is trying to find my way, increasingly find my way as a skater and a person who operates a business within skating. Um, and like I said earlier, a thing that I've done culturally in skating is provide a critical lens on lots of things. As kind of a person who was like a bit of an outsider, right? Or like it wasn't like I threw my hat in the ring with a company or something. So I was quite taken with the experience in how in what an excellent event it is and what a collaboration of efforts between people, the amount of money that goes into it, how smoothly it's run. And I guess I started to feel like, we took a first kind of crack at it when we spoke last, a podcast that we haven't released. And I felt like actually my critical lens was kind of failing because it didn't really feel like it needed me going like, hey, this or that should change. It was more like, what an incredible effort that people are like, we are privileged to experience that event. Like we are the beneficiaries of that event. And additionally, like feeling how limited my scope actually was on lots of things within skating. Um, I was Cavan in Amsterdam let me stay with him, Plastic Pushers. Like, he's making print media that like I was completely unaware of. He gave me two
Is it?
issues, like
Oh,
beautiful print magazine, um,
really?
which
No.
yeah. So like that to me humbled me a little bit, where I'm like, yeah, keep in remember that there's tons of people like heroically pouring effort into this thing. I mean, additionally, after going to like, a number of Blade Cups now and Clash, and you see
Yeah.
people that bring themselves out there on their own dime to I miss like Becky Sotelo. I see her at every competition that I go to, and she fucking rips at every competition she goes to. I imagine she's sending herself there on her own dime, like, you know,
It's yeah.
huge respect. Just
Yeah.
right. Come on. Like, uh, so yeah, part of what I'm trying to do is kind of rectify my experience of going to the event and feeling a bit of this shifting responsibility, not just as an individual, but this this new market with lots of options in it too. It is I feel more of a responsibility to champion things that I feel are worthwhile and worthy of respect. And also that like I have some curiosities about the market itself and what we can support. Um, and maybe the idea of like shifting our perspective a little bit. I don't know that I'm right on this, but I look at some other markets like mountain biking or like golf, for instance, or something where you have, or cycling would be a better example. Like in cycling, people often have road bike, mountain bike, cross options, tools that are specific for for something, and they may not also like live like a person who rides bikes might not exclusively have specialized bikes or exclusively ride certain parts, or a person's golf bag might not exclusively have Callaway clubs or something like that. Um, and yeah, it just made me think like, yeah, if we want this new stuff that's coming to the market, uh, your responsibility is to like support it. Otherwise, this stuff isn't happening in a vacuum, right? That's the takeaway I think from this notion of like you as a small business owner being transparent, where it's like we exist, by virtue of the support of these things, and each project hinges on it, it getting by. Um, so I think it just feels like a bit of like a grow up moment for skate. Like, I have some people that talk to me behind the scenes, like grown men that are like, yo, do you think this guy would give me skates because I did this part or something? It's like, brother, you make like nearly six figures. Go buy some fucking skates. Like I run a cosplay exercise project on the internet, and I managed to like purchase the skates that I ride. So yeah, I got a little bit of
Yeah.
I don't know. I
What
want my fellow people to be not so
understand?
hungry for validation from the company structure or whatever. It's like
I
buy your
think it's
product, make your case.
yeah. This is ongoing. Not even I don't call it issue. This is ongoing. Just um, in any sport, I guess there's sponsorships and the activity, the notion of being good enough and
Yeah, 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 yeah.
expectation from what you are contributing. So it gets foggy somewhere around the point where you feel like, damn, I'm really good at this, like
Yeah.
people someone owes me something,
Yep.
or not owe you, but you know what I mean?
Totally, totally.
Like, okay, maybe I am good enough, which is the positive idea of it, is
Yeah.
like, oh, maybe I'm good enough to like, maybe I get a sponsored, and that would be amazing because I feel like I can contribute. Like that's the positive take of it all,
Yeah.
versus having a six-figure salary and being like 45 and expectations might be a little skewed there, maybe. I don't know. But
Yeah, like if you're looking if that's the place that you're looking for validation, I think of you've seen Rudy, probably the movie.
in a
Uh,
while, I wrote
yeah, yeah.
that.
There's just a
He's like the little guy trying to make it into, was it Notre Dame, or
correct. Yeah,
and he ends up being the reason why they win the championship. Am I wrong?
yeah. That's
I don't
the
want to watch it. Yeah, yeah, that's like an inspirational movie, right?
Rudy is so it's like you
Yeah.
can't watch that and not just feel like yeah. But there's a
I'm gonna watch it tonight. I'm gonna watch it tonight with my kids.
hell yeah, yeah. I'll expect a full review.
I will.
I love the movie Rudy. Um,
Yeah.
but there's a scene at the end of it where Rudy is like he's like hands in his Letterman jacket and he's feeling sad because he's not going to play in the big game, and he's talking
Yeah.
to the janitor, and the janitor is just like buddy, in this lifetime you don't have to prove anything to anyone except yourself, and if you don't know that by now, like you're never gonna fucking learn it. And yeah, it's there's something about I have a lot of sympathy for all of us. Maybe sympathy is the wrong word. Like I think of skaters and the kind of quest for meaning that I think is part of this whole pursuit for many of us, and an industry that lives within it to do the best that it
Yeah.
can to raise people up. Um, and also, yeah, I think at a certain point, your grow up moment should be not to require validation, but see how you can contribute um, in,
Yeah.
in whatever way you can.
Definitely. I agree. Skating's a skating's a privilege,
Yeah,
especially um, the access to life that is given me personally. Um, like, I mean, the happiness that it can offer to you if you want to receive it. It's unlocking, as maybe people might say now, is
Hmm.
um, grateful to have found that, in '93.
Yeah, 94 for me.
Whoa, yeah, like whoa, like that's it. That's
Yeah,
it. 93, 92, doesn't matter. Long time ago.
yeah, yeah.
Years ago. It's just thankfully, found it then, and it's and I think unlocking that is like it could be a very, very positive thing for your life if you understand what it means to like what it can possibly do for you physically, but most importantly mentally, right? Like um but it can also destroy you. it can also, I mean, you see it all the time, you know.
Yeah,
Oh, it's but it's life, you know. That I mean, I can't blame. Like again, rolling is a privilege. It's a man. So it's so fun. So it's kind of crazy.
yeah. I mean, I'm still sort of reeling from the social experience of it. You know, this Winter Clash
Yeah,
thing where, uh,
you're like, what was that? Right? Like, holy shit.
yeah. I
Even
mean,
like even me, like I've been going for how many years? 19 years, and I know where I'm getting myself into,
yep.
and I used to hate going, like only because um the situational mentality, my mentality was in the wrong space. My idea of what it was, what
Yeah,
it
yeah.
meant was wrong. And it wasn't like, it maybe might have been 1 year or two where I was just like, wow, I need to take a break, you know?
Sure.
And I missed 1 year because it was transitional for Valo. And it was a time where the time I knew I was like kind of done, you know? Well, I know I was done. But previous years, you know, it got to a space where it's like it was a very competitive, it's a very competitive atmosphere
Oh, yeah.
if you read into it too hard. It can make you not want to go, you know? Like back then, as a skater who just was sponsored, or like the hat of being sponsored, or the hat of being there because I have to compete.
Yeah, dude.
It can't be happy. You can't be happy some like knowing, I mean, you can, but you know, if you're driven and you're ready to rip, like no matter what, you know where your intentions are. Which is like I told Koda, I'm like, just do stay in your lane and have you know, like don't just do what you want to do, and you're and that'll be a great time. But when you start thinking like I don't know what the best way, like stressing too much maybe, or like um I mean, there's no way his first time he's gonna feel that way anyway. But you know,
Yeah.
like you know, as a you know, again going there with many hats over the last 19, 20 years. Um, ironically, 3 years ago, I skated the contest. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know, so it's like I was like, dude, I want to do this. Like I, you know, at a 45 versus 46. So it's like I don't, you know, you just kind of gotta fit. Like the one thing about being sponsored and as a skater or you're a pro or whatever, or just a known ended person,
Hmm.
you just like there's a lot of insecurities. There's like if you let them get to you,
Oh,
like
yeah.
you're like you like have 1,000 eyes on you, and you feel like you got to perform,
Yep.
or you just don't want to look bad, or you want to you know, or you got to talk to 1,000 people,
Yep.
and you don't want to talk to 1,000 people, or I don't know. There's just things that you know, coming from the different eras in my personal life, and it's it can be taxing, and but you know, it's an amazing thing. You know, end of the day, if you can get the community together like that for 20 years, and the energy is like that 20 years, you know, like and more every year. Like
Yeah.
this year's was bigger. It felt bigger to me. I don't know. I mean, I know he has a capacity. Yo-Yo has a capacity. Maybe he put a little more. You know, I think maybe like low key.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you know, more people came in, but it felt like really good energy. Um, like Blading Cup, you get a feeling of like I got to see Andy, I got to see Tom, you get to see older folks that I haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, what I really appreciated personally was just the newer faces.
Yeah.
And some of the faces I saw last year that got a little bit older, you know, and they're like the level of skating is, you know, I just like, oh damn, I remember you last year.
Yeah.
Like I was like, now you're like this, you know? So it's
Right.
like it's really cool. The culture, it's a culture. It's a culture. And like like you, I feel like I am every time I'm there, I like, damn, I feel like I'm exposed to something new because there's newer brands, there's newer people, there's more people in general.
Yeah.
And even like it doesn't have to do with people. Like I mean, I don't know how you feel about it when I go to a new place and there's a restaurant I've never been to. I'm like, damn, let's go there. Or like,
Yeah.
and a lot of that is there. Like I'm not. You go to a new spot to eat and you're like, damn, like how long has this been here? This is cool, Or it's just it's a whole new, always a whole new flavor when you're experiencing new things. And there's always the things that we did last year that we always try to do again, but. And then Amsterdam is only an hour away, and you were there. You were there for a few days, so you're automatically exposed to um, so much within a short period of time. And then you come back home, and you're just like, "Oh, back to reality." And that was what was it? What was it?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
3 weeks, 2, 3 weeks later now, and it's still like, whoa, like role playing. It's I think that's what I think. I'll have like different perspectives. Like it's like, damn, there's so many skate companies now. What the heck? But in that retrospect, going there and you're just kind of like, well, damn, there's a lot of people there, and there's a lot of energy, and there's a lot of like, um, there's a lot of opportunity. And I look at it that way too, right? I mean, I gotta be negative as a business owner to a space where it's like, damn, gotta work harder, you gotta like do more. But you're also like, there's more opportunity for skaters, there's more opportunity. You need competition to grow.
Yes.
You have stuff to bounce off of and be like, oh, I didn't know you could do that. We're a great example of that when we started. Like, yeah, you can give higher royalties if you just try or like set up a program that hasn't been tried before or create a new product that people are doing that and you're like, oh damn, that's interesting. Is that gonna work? Or create an older product and make it better? And it's just a very interesting atmosphere. And I like you, like have the same feelings, like it's just um one thing I would say if I was gonna pit like there's a lot of Polish kids. A lot of Polish kids were in the podiums. I actually noticed that.
Oh, sick.
It's pretty cool. Like, especially this time of with the world of the Eastern Europe is crazy, right? With
Right.
war and Polish, I think Poland's really close. So it's like um I don't know how that translates what I'm saying, but it's really rad to see. It was interesting to see that, and yeah, I think I share the same vibe with you with like, because every time I go back there, it's a different energy for sure.
Yeah.
So
I think it's also cool that the center of the skate world gets to be there near Amsterdam for a period of time. I think I'm kind of trying to make a case. Full disclosure on the school of skating that I came up from, right, which is this like anti-competition, straight
yeah,
skate exclusive. You
yeah,
know, uh, like fuck the industry at the beginning of your skate section thing. Um, and yeah, there's a part like I've already kind of said this other responsibility. Like I'm making the case for like go to events. Even if Winterclash is an interesting one to sort of make this case about because I had the same nerves that you did, right? And I'm not going to skate in the event, but I do generally hold an expectation for myself if I go to an event. Like I know there's a trick out there for me that is worth trying to get. Even if I do one thing, even if
right.
it's like, I'm looking for my lane and there's a competitive kind of skating that can happen at Winter Clash that is terrifying. Like um, the kinds of things that like Julian Cadeau and Joe can do are uh, it's a completely different martial art than what I am capable of. And so those guys also fucking thrive in that environment. David's a fascinating example too, because David can skate a tiny curb and make it a brilliant thing, and he can also be in like he can be in the Terror Dome and that heightened like
Amplitude. Yeah.
I really frankly enjoy seeing him get to that. Like I remember a Blade Cup a couple of years ago where things were closing down and David was like wanted one more shot at his trick and had a sort of like you could just see a fire burning in him. it still gives me like goosebumps thinking about it. But
Yeah.
yeah, like I'm trying to think about this case for, this event and other events that are on the calendar that yeah, instead of having this critical lens about whatever this or that thing, like go and make your case. And even if your case is just like being with your people, like, or making a shirt for the event, like fucking Pat and Curb Circle, FTS and Curb Circle, like that was the coolest gear at the event. And like there's room, it's like it is I think it's actually an opportunity for lots of abundance. Like there's potential for an abundant economy in there, and not just this notion of like, whoa, lots of people in the pond, things are getting scarce here.
I
Like,
mean, you did it with Skateability in the zone, like
yeah, yeah,
that's a great example too with you had like how many people for 2 days? Like,
probably
I mean,
close to 100 people over 2 days. Like,
like
yeah,
that's like incredible in the atmosphere of what was happening.
right.
Like you were able to do that in the atmosphere that was happening. There's a huge bowl right next to you, like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um and yeah, with the brands and also like opportunities are there. It's awesome. And what Yo-Yo and Jonas do with side events, it's awesome. And having the culture being available to hear and listen and if you want to see it, like through the panels and the videos. And I
Yep.
mean,
All the auxiliary events. It's like,
it's kind of we try to do that here, and it's awesome. It's great to see everyone and talk and drink and eat um and feed off each other. And I think networking with the brands and other people making of doing, and then maybe you want to do a brand, maybe you want to do an event, maybe you want to compete next year, maybe
yeah,
you want to help with an auxiliary thing next year. There's like there is a it's rad, right? So and going into what we do here, and I also have a little bit of like unsureness, insecurity, maybe with Blading Cup, and now we're like excitement, nervousness, maybe. It's like now we're going to Europe. Like what this,
right.
you gotta pay for that.
Yeah,
Get there, where we
yeah,
gotta raise money, and we're doing it here, and um we're partnering with someone new. Will it have the same energy? Will it be different? Probably be different, but will people show up? So there's a lot of like, Asia was great. So I know Asia is going to be massive again. And like, but so now it's like, on the side note, have a couple other calls happening, and whoa, people are really interested and excited to expand what we do here. And um, I guess the feeling is kind of like um the same where uh but on the outside looking in, where what we need it's a contribution. Like Blake is contributing now to different scenes, um and I think those are good signs, right? I think like the ability to connect with people who have similar outlooks on what we do and similar motivations, and understand the importance of like um what can happen, the energies that it can bring, the things that we're just talking about. So um I guess maybe I'm also, it's for me it's like I'm inspired, I'm inspired
yeah.
by obviously Yo-Yo and everything that Winterclash does. And I've talked to Yo-Yo like about a long time after the event, and it's nice to like have that personal connection with him, to be able to like feed off each other a little bit, and know like the good things and the bad things,
Yep.
or did you see that happen, or how can I do mine better, or how can he do his like, or what can I do to help him, or what he can do to help me. And so like that's kind of the next step now, I guess, is just executing the next few events, and then um, and these new talks that I'm having, I think they're exciting. Um, we might be expanding sooner than later. Um, in the next couple of weeks, might be announcing something. So
Oh shit.
yeah, yeah, like oh shit. So we can talk about that later, maybe,
Sounds good.
or maybe when things are set in stone. But it's but like in anything, I always my favorite thing to say, ask anybody, is one day at a time. Um, the extremes of lows, extremes of highs, and small. That's what small business is, and um, gratefully for the community and what we hopefully can continue to contribute. That's the best scenario all always. So um, yeah.
Yeah, man. I had this is maybe too self-aware to like one of the things I am have enjoyed about getting to know you a little bit more and seeing you as an individual, as a skater, person, business owner. Like many of the people that I've observed that have a capacity to do a lot of things are profoundly strategic. They're living like way out here in front of them. And one of the things that seems like you're a very capable reactor. Like you have and improviser. I bring this up because like you can see I have guitars and instruments and stuff behind me. Many of the people that I have few examples of people in my life that are capable improvisers, and that's something that it seems very necessary for you to have that kind of day at a time experience, because you're not living 6 years down the road plotting, four skates away from you. You're kind of like, this is the material that we have to work with today, and I'm improvising with. This is my experience of knowing you. You may feel differently about it, but
Yeah, I think it's kind of spot on. Even like back in the day when I was doing IMYTA with Ezekwe and Mike Wilson,
yeah,
and um, I think we literally the first one in SF, we decided to do that like a week before.
sick.
You're like, that's X Games.
Yeah,
Fuck, like this is our opportunity. SF, this is our hometown. Let's
yeah,
do it. And then anyway, I think a lot of that energy is kind of the same actually. It's like,
exactly.
um, but it's like it's also the pace of what the world is right now. So it makes it even more make sense, right? And especially in a small business sense where we're very agile, like we take the punches as they roll, negative and positive. Whether it be a shop in New York, or whether it be an opportunity to do Blading Cup in France, or whether it be uh, doing a collaboration with what we might be doing next, or here's Brain Dead. Can you do this in 6 months? Like,
Yeah,
okay, yeah, with you, let's go.
yeah.
Like we'll make it happen. We have to. The windows for attention spans are, what are they now? 15 seconds? I don't know, but like we gotta we got to go with the when the iron is hot, and be strategic. So, and that goes for everything. So, and when the opportunity is there and you wait, you might miss the window. And I've definitely missed windows in the past. Um and the difference is, like, before I wasn't really driving. Like I might say, yeah, I was. Or with England, we were. I was with the driver. I was in the shotgun with Jess or Ethan or Brooks. So like, but when it came to USD and like Rosie's and then Valo, I wasn't driving. I was kind of directing, and
Right.
and now like the ability to just change gears and like go 901, within 6 months, like that's really what happened. And
Yep.
it was a project that's been sitting there for sure. And but the window opened and it was like, this is what we need to do right now. There's no way, like we need to do it right now. Like
Yep.
be financially, like the market, what we do here in store, like that's like the smartest and the right. There's no easier decision to make. So,
Yep.
um, so I guess, yeah, I mean, it's easy. It's easier when you're driving the car versus like sitting shotgun.
We
So
we should go here. We
no,
you look.
like not like like as I hate when my wife is driving or when I'm driving, my wife's just like, like, oh no, we're going here. Like, I'm sorry, we're going this
Yeah.
way.
Um, yeah.
Is that a
Maybe
lot?
I think pretty decent spot to wrap things up there, I think. I feel like we got to most stuff.
Yeah. Hope I wasn't rambling too much. I think I felt like I was talking a lot this time.
I felt like you said many things that needed to be said. So
Okay.
well appreciated on my end. Um,
I hope so.
yeah.
I felt like felt good. I mean, a lot of stuff on my mind too. Like it's definitely a period here where I'm like, um, whoa, what does that mean? And can we,
Yep.
like financially, like, whoa, that's like it's like
Oh yeah.
catch me on Monday, catch me on a Friday,
Right.
and today feels like a Monday.
It's it's part of what I feel like is like that feels very present to me about you as an individual. Like at this time in your life, like that's present. So I think part of this, yeah, part of the cool potential of this
Yeah,
project is like that's part of it. It's like that's where I like this being conversational and not overly produced and not, where it's like I see it as an opportunity to get down to that kind of stuff, you know, um, because uh, like as a friend and like an advocate for what you're doing, if I'm behaving that way, like, and this can be off record as well. There's like I think that's a big part of um where like why people believe in you, because you have a capacity to be authentic, um and so an outlet for that, especially as like things are shifting, this to me feels like as authentic a message as you can kind of get, where we're just like,
I agree. I mean, I agree on that. Where I think that the one thing I would say, and not to be like overblowing my who I am as a person, but
light it up, John.
I skate, right? You skate, and it's really easy to translate the the mission or the journey that this has been. Like, let's just talk about them skates or blading cup. Like, it's really easy as skaters to understand like if you're not doing something, if you're not doing Skateability, if you're not doing an event, if you're not doing Winterclash or whatever you're not doing, or printing magazines or making parts, or but you skate and you can relate to like yeah, that's probably how things happen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
that's that's probably how, yeah, like that's how it happens. And I always wondered that. And maybe that's what it is. I always wonder. I think I started the whole thing, this cast with that. Like,
yeah,
I
yeah,
wonder how you get from t-shirts to that. Um and I think that's just maybe my I'm just been doing that. My journey or them skates journey or our journey. It's especially with the transparency of social media and brand managing, and you just kind of like it's easier to do that with podcasting now. And but I think I've always kind of done that. So
yeah.
anyway,
It feels true.
skaters are just gonna skate, right? We're just gonna skate, and
Yeah, skaters be skating.
I feel like we just talk like this anyway. It's
Yep.
not like we're just hanging out in Amsterdam and we're just talking the same shit. So
Yeah.
just recording it.
I
So
kind of think that's in an increasingly busy world too. Like that's the only way. I mean, that's part of what Skateability is, where like
yeah,
I would do a mobility practice on my own. So
yeah,
and it's good. It's not like I'm working at a yoga studio or something and being paid. It's like you got to figure out how to integrate what you're doing,
Yeah.
and and then also like you're called to be your higher self too, I think, because you have responsibility. I mean, much like I imagine having a family is, where you're like, it's pretty hard to justify like being a shitty person if you're,
Yeah.
you got people that you got mouths to feed, you got,
Oh,
um,
trust me, I know shitty people who have kids.
oh yeah, it happens. Uh, I can just imagine with a moral code, it
Right,
makes it
right.
a harder ask,
You
but
have to have
yeah,
you have some kind of morals for sure.
but yeah, they're out there. Shout out, shitty people all around the world.
Not here. Not here.
Nobody here, of
No
course,
one's- no
obviously,
one-
are wonderful, devoted listeners.
Yeah, we're pet owners too. So
Yeah, totally.
don't sell your cat.